Howdy folks, I'm Victorious Viceroy, valiantly vaulting over verdant vines.
I'm Amber.
And I don't know why we're vaulting over vines when we could just fly over them. Again, we're doing a lot of acrobatics here as butterflies.
It's Butterfly Olympics. That's why you're victorious. I guess they could have a flying competition too, but that gets old pretty quickly.
Yes. And folks, we have a live stream coming up tomorrow. Wow, can you believe it? For more information, please see the end of the video. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Having Lunch in a Cemetery? I'm an introvert with a highly social customer service job, and I often need to take my lunch hour alone to recharge. Next door to my workplace is a big, well-kept cemetery, and there are lots of shade trees, a small gravel path, and benches here and there. On nice days, I take my lunch to one of those benches, I eat my sandwich, and I read a book. Sometimes I walk along the paths, and I read the gravestones. Well, last week, I had just finished my lunch, and I was packing things away when another visitor approached me, and we began chatting. They said that they were here visiting their parents, and they asked whom I had lost. I had to admit that none of my loved ones were buried here, but that I was coming here because it was peaceful and I needed a place to take a break from my work. They reacted to this with indignation. They said that I was being disrespectful and that I was treating a cemetery like a personal park and I didn't care about people's grief. I apologized and I left immediately, but I haven't been back since. But I was surprised to hear this, as I had not thought that it would be disrespectful. I don't think that I would mind if my loved one were buried in a cemetery where people sometimes ate their lunches and read their books. I don't think that I would mind if I knew people would do that in the cemetery where I was buried. I don't leave litter, I don't intrude on other people, and I'm literally here to be alone and in peace. And if there were a graveside service being held, then I would stay quiet and far away so as not to bother the mourners. But just coming into a cemetery to sit to be quiet without mourning, eating lunch, reading gravestones of people who I've never known, was I being disrespectful? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I think everything OP is doing here seems perfectly fine. I mean, OP is being quiet and peaceful and not littering. Some cemeteries are even designed to be
Parks, yeah.
enjoyed by people. Like we have one in Bangor, Mount Hope Cemetery, that is one of the nation's oldest garden cemeteries. I think it's the second oldest garden cemetery in the nation, and it is literally built to be used by people.
Yeah.
They have benches, they have things in the cemetery for people to use. And, it's not like OP is, defiling the monuments or anything like that. Like, obviously, if OP was disturbing the peace or, messing with the stones or something, that would be an issue. But just quietly existing in a cemetery, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest problem I have here is that this doesn't seem like anything that OP was like doing anything wrong. They were just quietly enjoying the quiet, the solitude, and I don't feel like you have to lose somebody to be respectful of a graveyard. I mean, there's lots of times when people come into graveyards like to do stone rubbings and to do other things, right? Sometimes people don't have relatives in graveyards. They just go to the graveyards to do grave rubbings and to see some of the pretty designs and see the gravestones, right?
Well, and it's kind of because after a while, a lot of times, the stones will be kind of left. The people in the area have either died or moved elsewhere. And so they're kind of all on their own. And so I feel like having live people to come and visit, even if it's just to read the inscription or do a grave rubbing, is a good thing.
Yeah. I would definitely say that OP is nowhere in the wrong at all here. And I think that, if anything, they're more in the right than what they think, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, I understand the other person is grieving and they thought maybe they had found someone who they could commiserate with.
Yeah.
So, they had kind of a knee-jerk reaction. And I hope that if they have time to reflect, that they will see that it's not such a bad thing. But, they definitely should not have reacted that way to OP. So.
Yeah, agreed. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Looking After My 19-year-old daughter when they were sick? I'm a 47-year-old female and my ex-husband, a 49-year-old male, share joint custody with our two children. Our eldest child is 19 and she's autistic and has ADHD. Last night was my ex-husband's night with the kids and I had a date. My eldest daughter became ill before I went out with sickness and diarrhea. It was very bad. Can't even keep water down and a lot of pain. We've all been there and it's horrible. I was literally dressed up to go out, but she was in such a poor state, and she asked me to stay with her. The reason she asked me to stay is that in a previous occasion, her dad had pretty much left her on her own when she had become ill. The same with her 17-year-old sister. So I sat with her till well after an hour, since I should have been out, getting her medicines and just being company. After this time, my ex-husband had sat downstairs on a computer game. After over an hour, I admit I lost my temper with my ex, not my daughter, and I came downstairs for some water for myself. As I stormed back upstairs, he said, "I'll give it to her." First time he's ever mentioned her. Bear in mind that this is supposed to be his time. When I said to him that he hadn't even bothered with her, and he got furious and said she's 19 for goodness sake, stating that at her age she basically needs to fend for herself. Then he shouted at me as I was going upstairs, was I going or what? I canceled my plans and I slept on the floor of my daughter's bedroom as my ex refused to leave the house as it was his night. We leave the kids in the main house and we leave it when it's not our time there. My ex is angry because according to him, I mollycoddled the kids and I should have just left well enough alone. I have had hardly any sleep and I would like to go out again tonight, but my daughter is still ill and panicking about me going, and I can't leave my kids when they're asking for me, even if they're 19. Am I the jerk for looking after my sick 19-year-old kid when they're asking me to? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. Although it might be time to start investigating other living arrangements. One kid is 19, the other is 17. It's probably at the point in time where the 17-year-old can choose where she wants to live. If your ex is kind of just neglecting them when they need help, because the thing is, it's not like when you turn 18, you magically like, oh, I'm sick and I can't move. Now all of a sudden I can. Like sometimes people, even full-grown adults, get so sick that they just can't get out of bed. That is a thing that happens, and people of any age can need help when they're that sick. And if the ex's solution is, oh well, she's 19, so she just needs to fend for herself, that's not helpful. Like dehydration can be a serious issue. There's all kinds of issues you can have when you're that sick if you don't have anyone to help you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand where the guy is coming from here, in some respect, because like I've been kind of on my own since I was that age, and not had anyone caring for me, and so I can understand him being like, "Ah, she should be able to fend for herself," blah 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 blah, right? But I don't think that is a healthy or good attitude for a parent to have, right? I think that it kind of shows a fundamental, like, disregard for their children as soon as they grow up. I mean, just because you're a parent, but just because your kid turns, 18 or 19 doesn't mean they stop being your child, doesn't mean that you should stop caring for them, right? And I think that, it's nice to have somebody there who will care for you, right? And, the thing is that why should your daughter have to struggle on her own if she has people there to support her and help take care of her, right?
Right. I mean, it sounds like the ex just wants to play his video games and not really parent anyway.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, even if she was less sick, sometimes it's just nice to have someone there when you feel really bad. And so I don't think OP is doing anything wrong. And I think the
No.
ex needs to, like, either parent or let OP take over.
Well, what's he doing at this point in time, anyways, right? Like, what, the kids are 17 and
Well,
19, right?
they should be mostly self-sufficient. And so like it seems should be like the only time he has to really parent is when
Mm-hmm.
they are sick. Or, like not only time, but like it should be pretty hands off at this point in time. So if he can't even like do something when they're sick, what is he actually doing as a parent?
Yeah. And, like, the, it just feels very like, oh, I don't want to deal with my kids at this point in time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why even bother being a parent at that point in time if you're just not going to pay attention to your kids? And yeah, she's an adult, but she's also sick. It's nice to have somebody, like you said, care for you when you're sick. So I don't know. I don't see why he wouldn't be more compassionate towards his child and treat her better. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, "Am I Shallow for Wanting My Girlfriend to Dress Better?" And Amber wants to read this one.
I'm a 27-year-old male, and I've been with my girlfriend, a 26-year-old female, for about half a year. We come from different backgrounds. She comes from a poor family, while my family started out poor but was lucky enough that my dad got his company running and started earning more. So now I'm in a bit of a dilemma. I love dressing nice, it makes me feel good, and I love my girlfriend and almost everything about her. But one thing that bothers me a bit is she doesn't seem to mind not putting much thought into what she wears most of the time. She'll dress nice for more fancy dates, but otherwise she will wear a basic t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, while I'll at least put some thought into my clothes, even if we're just going for a walk. Am I being shallow? I'm not sure how to bring this up without sounding like a jerk.
All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, OP, I think you're not really thinking about this from a good perspective. I do think you're, putting unreasonable expectations on her. First of all, does she even have the finances for the wardrobe that you want her to have? Like, are you willing to go out there and buy her a whole new wardrobe? But secondly, like, it's very normal for people to wear t-shirts, shorts, and flip-flops on walks. Like, it seems like I understand that OP wants to look nice, but if you want someone who dresses like they're always ready for a photo shoot, then maybe you're not with the right person.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say on this one is, OP, do yourself and your girlfriend a favor and find somebody who wants to dress up nice all the time, and then you two can be happily dressed to the nines all the time together. You know, I think this is kind of similar to the one story that we read just like last week or so, where the guy threw out all of the OP's fancy clothes because, or clubbing clothes, because they were not dressing in the way that they wanted them to dress. And
Right.
it has that same kind of vibe here, right?
Right. And it's one thing to suggest things to people, it's
Yeah.
another thing to expect them.
Yeah.
And if you feel like you would sound like a jerk, it's probably because you do sound a bit like selfish and like you want her to dress up for your benefit. Because if you're going for a walk, again, it's not like it's socially unacceptable to wear a t-shirt and shorts. It's not like there's any harm or any benefit that would come from dressing more fancy on a walk.
Yeah.
And so it does seem like it's just so OP can maintain his image. He wants her to fit that image.
Well, and if that's the case, then again, like I said, they need to find somebody who is interested in that kind of image. And there isn't anything wrong with breaking up with somebody because you're incompatible, right? Like if he feels like this is a deal breaker, that he needs somebody who's going to be dressing more fancy all the time, he's allowed to have that as a deal breaker and say, I really love a lot about you, but unfortunately, I just don't feel like our sense of fashion's align. I don't know. I mean, that we're not compatible with certain values, right? And then leave it at that and break up with them. But don't try to force your partner into your mold, right? You shouldn't, like, if they want to dress a certain way, you have to expect that they're going to dress this way for the duration of your relationship. Don't try to change them. Don't try to mold them into the version that you want them to be. Let them be respectful and let them be themselves.
Exactly.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not letting my friend propose to his girlfriend at a mutual friend's wedding? Am I the jerk for ruining friend's plan of proposing at a mutual friend's wedding by telling my mutual friend about it and ruining the quote-unquote surprise? I'm a 28-year-old female and I had two close friends in high school. One of them is male, we'll call him Ben, and he used to date my other friend, we'll call her Christy, who is a female. We all ended up going to different colleges, and to be honest, I did not keep up much with both of them the years following high school. The two of them ended up breaking up, so things were a bit awkward anyways. Until a few months ago. My female friend suddenly reached out through Instagram and broke the news that she was getting married to her new partner of 3 years. I was happy for her, and I was invited to the wedding. However, what I didn't expect was that Ben was also invited. At first, I thought that it was a bit weird to me, since they used to date, but I figured that she just wanted to rekindle friendship and nostalgia. I reached out to Ben, and I was glad that we could meet again. After a few conversations, he told me how he still remained in contact with Christy during college, and how they had made up after breaking up, resulting in a really strong friendship. Anyways, apparently, he started dating one of Christy's close friends in college, and thought that it would be cute to propose to her during Christy's wedding. This was because the wedding would take place in Hawaii, at an extremely expensive venue, and he wanted to get one of those professional photographers at Christy's wedding to take a photo of him proposing. To be honest, I was okay with this initially since prices are pretty high nowadays, and if they were really as close as he made it out to be, then who could object to a double proposal? But he then proceeded to tell me that Christy would not be aware of it. This changed my entire perspective. So I told him to either tell her or propose somewhere else. He was annoyed at this and tried to explain how Christy would be happy for him and that I didn't understand the friendship dynamic between Christy and him. He also insisted that he wanted his proposal to be a pleasant surprise for Christy on her wedding day, and according to him, she would be honored that her close friend found love at her wedding too. I told him that this idea seemed inappropriate and that Christy's wedding was her big moment and that he shouldn't take from it. When he left me undelivered, I took action and I told Christy about his plan and whether she would be okay with it. Now, Christy was actually elated about it and said that she was okay with it as long as it took place after the official wedding ceremony. He could propose during the wedding trip. This made me relieved, but now Ben is angry at me for quote-unquote ruining his surprise to Christy. He's been texting me nonstop about how I betrayed his trust and how I had no right to interfere, and that I embarrassed him by going behind his back. So am I the jerk for ruining the surprise for Christy? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, this whole thing sounded very sus.
Yeah.
And so, especially wanting to commandeer the wedding photographer and whatnot. Like, first of all, if Christy didn't know, he might not even be able to do that, because any wedding photographer worth their salt is not going to just let a random guest pull them aside to take photos. They'll be taking photos of the event as kind of specified. And so his plan might not have worked anyway without Christy knowing. But secondly, you know, in like 99.9% of situations, this could have gone really badly and ruined the day. Like, it's nice that Christy and him have this relationship where she's actually excited and happy about it, but it sounds like she even has some stipulations, like she wants it to happen after the official wedding ceremony and whatnot. And those are kind of important details that need to be ironed out.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's why you should always talk to the bride ahead of time, right? Even if he knew Christy and knew that this was going to be okay with her, and it sounds like he knew her well enough to know that she was going to be okay with it, which is great, right? But I think it's always important, especially for these high stress, high cost events, to double, triple check to make sure that the person is truly informed and is aware of what's going to happen here, right?
And how does the groom feel about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another good question, and I mean, I guess the groom doesn't matter here.
Like, it's one of those situations where, like, you know, the people getting married, unless you get both of their, you know, absolute consent, that you shouldn't do these kind of things. It's not a kind of surprise you just pull out.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she has a joke.
What might a boat say to request assistance?
Another boat? I would say that a boat would request assistance by being like, "Hey, tugboat, please help me out here. I'm not doing so well. I'm dead in the water. I'm adrift without you, tugboat. Please, tugboat, my friend, my love, save me from the drifting away." And then the tugboat would come and save them, and then they would fall happily together in love forever and marry under by the coral reef. I didn't mean under the coral reef. That would be a tragedy of boats, not a celebration of boats. But yes, you get what I'm saying. So happy ending for everyone.
Canoe help me.
Basically what I said.
And it's National Canoe Day, and it's also National Bomb Pop Day.
Ooh, so don't eat the bomb pops. Disarm them first.
I mean,
and then eat the bomb pops and have a good time.
I don't think you have to disarm bomb pops.
I think you do.
It's not the way I ate them as a kid.
Well, you might explode at any moment, and I'm a little afraid about how close you are with that knowledge.
Oh my goodness. That reminds me of that SpongeBob episode with the pie.
Yeah. And I have Earl Grey. SpongeBob, I always wanted you to know that I always kind of sort of liked you.
I think that's graveyard shift you're
Yeah,
thinking
that's
of.
graveyard shift, but it's something.
Squidward, I used your clarinet to unplug my toilet.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, Junior, folks.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on disrespect.
It's not disrespectful to peacefully eat in a graveyard, generally speaking, but it could be disrespectful to surprise propose at your friend's wedding.
Yes. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!